Hey, everybody. Brendan Marcello here with another episode of Social Distance. I'm joined today by a very special guest, Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh. Jim, recently you penned a very interesting letter, one that I don't think it's getting a lot of attention right now because obviously there's a lot going on in the world, but brought up a lot of great points, and I've been hearing it talked about a lot with other coaches in the industry when I speak to them. I guess for the folks out
Good.
there, give us a little bit about why you decided to pen this letter and the key points in it that you were trying to make that you could communicate to our listeners and viewers.
Sure, Brandon. Well, reason why was to create discussion. And you said people are thinking about it and talking about it and weighing in on it, which is good. I mean, get other opinions is definitely what I was after. The main points of it are one, that a young man, his family choose when they start their pro career. That could be after their freshman year, sophomore year, or junior year. But this idea that they have to wait for 3 years before they're eligible to be drafted, change that current rule. Second rule that would change would be that right now players that aren't drafted can't come back to college football with their eligibility. I think it makes a lot of sense that if a player is not drafted, that he's able to come back to college football and have his eligibility and continue trying to strive to better his game and become a professional football player. And the draft would dictate whether the player was good enough to be a professional or he needed to stay in college football. And then the third piece is that the player could consult an agent. He could consult an attorney to make those decisions that we're talking about. And also, once he's done with his playing career, he could come back to college as a student and get his degree. All win for the student athlete.
See, this all sounds so like simple in a lot of ways, but some people people don't like change, but we're seeing change in the NCAA right now with name, image, likeness.
Yeah.
The transfer waiver has been postponed, but that's certainly going to be something that goes into effect probably in 2021. It seems like you're striking when the iron's hot, and you're making these discussions come to the forefront. Do you think it's realistic that we could see people actually taking some of your ideas and being able to maybe implement these in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's time for the change. I mean, it's been football really is the only sport that you can't pursue your professional career on a timeline that you think is best or best for your son. There's so many others can. I mean, if somebody's a really good pianist or basketball player, hockey player, baseball player, et cetera, that is there. Right now, Brandon, I think it just puts us, we're on a good trajectory of people being able to decide their own fate, make decisions for themselves. Definitely the transfer portal is one of those ways. As you said, it's been delayed for a year, but I think that's inevitable. That's football players will have the ability to transfer one time and not have to sit out. That's a trajectory that puts the decision in their hands. Trajectory of name, image, and likeness is something that somebody has the ability to make their own decisions. And so what I'm proposing is along that same trajectory to allow them to make the decision for themselves when their pro career should start, and the demand of the National Football League dictating that they would be drafted.
Why is it, do you think, that some of your colleagues here in college football are so against change sometimes and seem so uncomfortable with it? Because, for example, I'll just talk about the transfer waiver that's probably going to go into effect next season. All I hear from coaches is, it's going to affect our roster management. I'm not going to be able to keep 85 scholarship players on my roster. This is never going to work. Why do you think some coaches out there are just so against some of these things that put more power in the hands of the players?
Boy, we could get into probably a long discussion about that. I think, honestly, they like managing it themselves. We got this, they don't mind taking a player and getting a waiver, when it helps their team. But then we also have this runoff waiver in effect. But we also have a rule that says that you can't reduce somebody's scholarship for ability reasons. So those two rules really fly in conflict. I think the college coaches like to have their cake and eat it too. Where, hey, we'll run off the players that you don't want and get new ones to come in, and we'll get a transfer waiver for them. But if the youngster has the ability to say, well, I want to decide whether I have a one-time transfer, then that gives puts the decision-making power, the seat at the table in the hands of the student athlete and their family. And yeah, it's going to be more work. You're gonna have to manage your roster, but you bring up a great point. There's 4,000, I believe 187 players that are in the transfer portal right now for football this year. So we're already doing that as coaches. We're already managing that part of the roster. And some people are making that argument. Well, if you let players be able to be drafted after their freshman or sophomore year, then the coaches are going to have to, how difficult that's going to be to manage their roster. You're already doing that right now with the transfer portal. So I don't think, and even if it is, so be it. There'll be a little bit more work. Guys are getting paid enough to do a little bit more work. And if this is something that it benefits and empowers, the guys who play, the student athletes and their family, then that's what we should be for. I mean, everybody espouses that's the reason they got into this game and became a coach is for the kids and for the student athletes and their families. So, I think it's the right thing. It's a little bit more work for the coaches, but the players will have their, they'll be able to have their cake and eat it too. They'll be able to go to college, have their shot at being a college football player, starting, make it All-American, that kind of thing. And then if they're good enough to be drafted, they'll be drafted. And if they're not, then they continue to get their education and they continue to get their degree. And if they come out early, then they can come back to college at the expense of the college and get their degree. So I think it's going to be win, win, win. Have your shot at college. Have your shot at your pro career. And most importantly, make sure that we get the degree in their back pocket.
What if I'd be curious, have you heard from any coaches that are like, hey, I really like these ideas and maybe they're afraid to say it publicly?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's Mac Brown. Somebody came out very positive about the proposal, and there's been others. But I mean, I don't know how many people have been asked yet or been, kind of drawn into the conversation. But I think it's really good. What I'm really interested, just what are people's thoughts? I'm not saying I got all the right answers or all the best ideas, but people got a lot of smart people out here in America. And this is a good time to be thinking about something that's long term or can help the game, but most importantly, it's going to help the student athletes.
Well, it's a conversation starter, and that's kind of what we need.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to be anything. Start that conversation. We got some time to do that right now.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. So obviously, things are starting to reopen across the country, various places. And the NCAA has allowed, hey, voluntary workouts can begin June 1st, but that's going to be up to individual conferences and then the schools themselves. Just how do you feel about everything as far as trying to get ready for a season now with voluntary workouts on the horizon and then obviously trying to get a preseason camp in? Do you feel comfortable with your own program at this point with all the virtual settings you've had and now finally maybe being able to move toward some on-campus workouts in preparation for the season? Do you have a good grasp on your team at this moment?
I think so. But we'll have a conditioning test when they come back just to make sure, I'm not going to put anybody out there into workouts or into football activities without having a good test of where their conditioning is. So find that out. But I'm excited about it. I'm hoping, just hoping every week, there's going to be better and better news. Looking forward to getting our guys back on campus and at least training in our facility, in our gym. I think that makes total sense. If gyms are reopened, that the players should be able to go into their team gym, where you have a real opportunity to, clean it, make sure that there's social distance. It's bigger. You can get smaller groups in there and start practicing some of these new norms that we're all going to be facing. So sooner the better. And hopefully in our state, the gyms get opened up soon.
Your face mask that you might have to wear, do you have a khaki one?
I got it right now. I got a Michigan one. I got Michigan. It's blue and maize and blue. So that'll be interesting.
Just an idea out there, just to throw it out there. Khaki face mask.
Khaki. I saw the NASCAR driver kind of had his own face, right?
His own smile. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea. You're a guy that's, like it or not, I guess you're polarizing out there. Everybody's like, I love Jim Harbaugh. Man, that guy's a little weird or whatever. He's not winning enough, yet your record is pretty great. But obviously everybody speaks about that rivalry. But what do you think is the biggest misconception about Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know. I don't really get that much into peeling the layers of the onion back and delving into those kind of things. What people think about you, or what your inner emotional thoughts are. I mean, right now, just trying to be, Brandon, just trying to be as creative and productive as we can be in these times. This is strange times. There's no question about that. But one thing that is not going to change is providence favors the prepared, and how you use your time. I mean, that's going to be a real indication of your organization or you as an individual. How are you using your time? I mean, can you have ideas? Can you be creative? Can you create a plan and then execute it? For a football player, that's getting in great shape. That's running. That's working out. That's getting your mind, your body in great physical shape, because the time is coming. We know that this is the time where the off-season program and strength cycle starts, June 1st or so. And then, in August, I bet we're practicing. And then in September, playing games. So the time doesn't change. So, I really feel like great organizations in times of crisis are going to still be great. And the good ones are going to survive in times of crisis, and bad ones are going to fail and never be seen from again. So, just being high drive, that's what we're looking at, being and, creating opportunities for ourselves and our players, and trying to be as productive as possible.
In this day and age, we kind of lose perspective. Everybody's got short-term memory. And before you came to Michigan, things were in pretty dire straits from the previous couple of coaching staffs. You've come in, been able to win 10 games. You've been able to finish first in your division in the Big Ten. But everybody's always talking about he can't beat Ohio State. He can't beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
How close are you to beating Ohio State?
Well, I know it makes us mad. I know people are mad about it, and makes us mad too. I mean, they're the only team in the Big Ten we haven't beaten, and we got to beat them. That's what we have to do, and that's what we're. That's what motivates us. That's what kicks us into high drive, and that's what we're about and after every day.
Obviously, I mean, in the past and what we've seen from Michigan, you can win championships there. You're set up every year. How close do you think you guys are at this point to getting to that position once again?
Well, I mean, you could just look back over the last years that we've been here, the last 5 years. I mean, been about as close as you can possibly be. But you got to put it over the top, and that's, as I said, that's what drives us, Brandon.
Yeah. It's we're talking about changes on the horizon, maybe because of COVID, and when a season does start, potentially no fans being in the stands or smaller portion of fans being in the stands, and obviously where you play, I mean, goodness gracious, I can't imagine it being even 3/4 full, let alone maybe a third full because of these maybe guidelines. But that might be the reality that's facing us. Kind of, what's your viewpoint on that, of the potential of being able to play, but not be able to do so in front of as many fans as you're accustomed to?
Oh, well, if it's playing the games and parents in the stands, I mean, I know what that's like. Coached at USD for 3 years, and that's it's great. It's still great. I mean, players that I talk to, you ask them, and hey, we may have games without fans. How do you feel about that? And they're like, whoa, no fans? Like, they haven't put their mind around that. I go, well, you better put your mind around that, because that could happen. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you want to play in front of no fans or not play? And to a man, we want to play, So I'm like, let the kids play, and whatever we have to do. There's a lot of really smart people. They're going to be creative and make it so, the best possible outcome can happen. You got to figure that, you could test everybody theoretically that plays, all the coaches, all the officials, any medical staff. You can test them. Anybody that tests negative can play, and those that test positive can't play, or being your coach. And then be tough to test 100,000 people coming into a game. So theoretically, you could see where, there may not be fans, but then again, maybe there will be, with some social distancing. What's the right number? Is it half? Is it half the stadium? 25% of the stadium? A third? 2/3? I don't know that, but again, there's a lot of smart people in America that can figure this out.
All I can think about is if there's only, parents and family members in the stands as Little League and stuff, and they're yelling down to the coach, why aren't you playing this kid? Why aren't you playing my kid? What's going on here? Why aren't you running this play?
It's not that way. It's not that way. I can tell you from my USD experience, I mean, there'd be sometimes 2, sometimes, 5,000. Then we got really good. It was like 10,000 in the stands, but, it's just as important. It's just as important to those playing. It's just important to, everybody that's out there. And it's still, tremendous competition. And that's the best part about it. The best part about it is the competition. That's what you play for. That's what you, live for. It's not the adulation of the crowd. And that's great. Crowds are great. It adds a tremendous, excitement and that kind of thing, but it's not the whole ball game.
Yeah. In this time of isolation and quarantines and everything, a lot of us are working from home. I'm working from home, obviously. I have a big storm rolling through my area right now. I don't know if the lightning's picking up and the thunder, but I'm wearing shorts right now. What are you wearing? You're not wearing khakis, I'm sure, to rest and relax at home and work.
Pretty much every day, yeah, I've been wearing the khakis.
Oh, okay. I figured, hey, you'd probably try to relax. Are khakis something you can actually relax in, though?
Yeah, I mean, they're practically like sweatpants. I mean, they're really comfortable.
That's great. Jim Harbaugh, thanks for joining us here on Social Distance. Good luck this season, and look forward to seeing what you can do. And obviously, with the proposals you've kind of brought up in your letter, what kind of conversation that starts once we start returning to action here?
Oh, fantastic, Brandon, and keep up the good work. It's nice to get to know you and be on your show. I've heard really good things from some of the friends I have that have been on your show that speak really good things about you. So appreciate the coverage, appreciate the insight and the thoughtfulness, and appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you.